on X, the news came out that Jeremy Boring, the co-CEO of the Daily Wire, was abruptly stepping down. This news came as a shock, as Jeremy is one of the original founders of the Daily Wire. Him and Ben Shapiro founded the company together in 2015, and his hard work was one of the main factors in its growth to its now over $1 billion company evaluation. Jeremy has been on multiple outlets speaking about his creative plans for the company. Reportedly, the Daily Wire and all of his ventures brought in over $200 million in 2024. Boring is stepping down as CEO, but says that he will remain with the company in a creative director role. This comes on the backs of other staff departures in recent history. This includes the like of Brett Cooper and Candace Owens. It's no surprise that they are women, but not all women do that. Jeremy's exit has also been sudden and silent. He hasn't made any out-of-pocket statements. He hasn't said any disparaging remarks about the Daily Wire, and he's generally kept to himself despite his outspoken demeanor. This is a stark contrast to Candace Owens and Brett Cooper leaving the Daily Wire. Last year, we all saw Candace Owens crash out on social media and her YouTube channel when she got fired. Brett was not as contentious as direct as Candace, left enough innuendos and passive-aggressive posts on social media to insinuate something bad happened during her tenure there. Candace Owens and Brett Cooper, like the girls on those basketball teams, are being ungrateful, mouthy women that did not appreciate the effort that Jeremy and the other men have put into them to make them who they are today. So here is Candace Owens talking about the Jeremy Boring situation. Okay.
Diversity. All right, you guys, happy Tuesday. What can I say other than it is a woman's intuition, which is funny because we ended yesterday's episode where I was saying, women, we don't know, but we know. And many ladies got that. We just know stuff. We get vibes. And last week, I was looking at the CEO of the Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring's tweets, and something just felt off. So we did an entire episode, well, actually just the beginning of an episode, but we quite literally entitled it, Just Asking Questions About the Daily Wire. And today, just 4 days later, news breaks that Jeremy Boring is stepping down. So our answer has arrived. Let's jump right into that. Let's get started and welcome back to Candace. You guys, I am having deja vu. It's like I've already been here before. You're not going to believe this. Today is my fire-diversary. You're wondering what a fire-diversary is. It's the anniversary of the day you got fired. So shout out to anyone who's been fired before. But last year on March 18th, I received news that I was no longer employed at the Daily Wire, which did.
Okay, after you ran a social media campaign against the company. Bitch, like, why do they leave out like the most important detail? After you worked for a Jewish network and then started talking about pro-Palestine stuff. I mean, guys, that would be like, okay, imagine if I hired somebody and they started spewing out anti-white stuff. Now, look, I'm not saying that it's right that she isn't allowed to talk about it or whatever, but how much am I going to fund someone that's saying racist stuff on my platform? Now, I'm not even saying what she said was anti-Semitic, but that's how they view it, right? And so, you know, when I hear women complain that they can't say anything while working for someone else who helped make them more famous, I mean, because you have to think, like, the other week I had a guy on here that'd been a janitor for 25 years. Or there's men on crab fishing boats in Alaska that, you know, die to get us crab. And you're complaining because you can't talk about one topic. One.
Arrive as somewhat of a shock to me. And we're fast forwarding now exactly 1 year later, because ironically, right after my exit was announced a few days later, then the entire Christ is King debacle took place online, courtesy of Andrew Klavan, who did this whole video about my exit and accused me of all sorts of things that we don't need to relitigate because I have moved.
Because, do you know what? She did this thing that conservative women do. The I'll pray for you. Well, they use God as a way to guilt and shame you. So she had this whole thing saying Christ is king. The Jewish people just won't let me. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that, but it's okay. They just won't let me say Christ is king. And it was so obvious what she was doing. And then when the men pointed out, they're like, hey, that's what you're doing. I'm not pro-Israel or anti-Israel. I'm not pro or anti. I'm a woman. I don't have any opinion on war. Do you think me, of all people, all of the women pretending they have any idea what the best thing to do in the Middle East, are full of shit? We do not know. We do not understand war or violence like men do, okay?
On, and I am certain so has he. But it was a bit of a Lent surprise to be fired. It was a bit of a Lent surprise to have like the Christ is King thing being branded as something that it most certainly is not. And we're doing that again. We're doing the Christ is King thing again. And this time I can't get fired. Well, I could, I guess. My husband could fire me, but he can't fire me this time. So I'm safe. I am marked safe from being fired at Lent. But there has been a major announcement today, 1 year later, that Jeremy Boring is quote unquote stepping down from his role as the co-CEO of Daily Wire. Now, before we get into the internet speculation as to what the heck is happening, in case you are not in conservative political land, you're not sure why exactly this is trending, Jeremy Boring was the co-CEO of the Daily Wire, and he was what I would describe as a rare CEO in his decision to be front-facing. And I come from a corporate environment. Like I worked in private equity. Typically, CEOs like to be behind the scenes. They like to be quiet. They give statements to the press when it's necessary. Jeremy Boring was the exact opposite of this, right? He absolutely loves the cameras.
Pearl Reed. By the way, on the website, if you have a comment you want me to read, I will read it. But you have to put Pearl Reed first. Candace Owens has no reason to do what she does. Her husband is rich. She is literally choosing her career over her kids. Pearl, when I was a kid, if an adult stranger gave me a clip around the ears, I'd go home, and the first question my dad would ask was, did you deserve it? My answer was usually yes. Yeah, exactly. But for women, it's like nobody asks that question. Seriously, if you mouth off a grown man and you F around and find out, you fathers, let me know in the chat, are you going to punish the grown man or your daughter? I already know what they're going to say. You guys fathers with daughters, it's like a blind spot.
He loves to monologue. He writes long tweets. He likes to share his ideas, which, by the way, no shade. It makes sense when you understand his background. He was like a drama kid growing up. He's spoken about this at length. He also named the company after his drama club, Bent Key, as it's called. And he wears the key around his neck because it was like the key to his drama theater. I think, I believe it's the key to his theater that he worked at when he was younger. And he speaks often about how he got involved with the Daily Wire. He was formerly a guy who...
Yeah, they said I plead the fifth. I know. You guys don't think I've done sports for 20 years. I know how these things play out.
He was trying to make it in Hollywood as an actor. Again, this is all according to him. Didn't work out for him. And then suddenly unceremoniously dropped by Harry's Razors because he came on my show when I was at PragerU and we spoke about the trans issue. And essentially they canceled Michael Knowles and said, we're no longer going to read ads with you. And rather than saying, okay, we're going to have Michael Knowles launch Michael's Razors, in response to this, Jeremy said, we're going to launch a razor company and it's going to be called Jeremy's Razors. Okay. Another example, if you remember this, when I was at the Daily Wire, there was also Jeremy's Chocolates, another backstory there. And this one I always felt was quite ironic because he was going after Hershey's. And the reason that they were going after Hershey's was because on International Women's Day, Hershey's decided to promote a transgendered woman. So a biological male became the face of International Women's Day. And he was saying that's not right. So we're going to launch Jeremy's Chocolate. Which I always thought was like, okay, but then aren't you doing the same thing? Shouldn't it be Brett Cooper's chocolate? I don't know. The point is that when there was kind of a moment that was building culturally, Jeremy would launch a product and typically his name went on it. And that's what I mean when I say that he was sort of front and center facing. Recently, he was just sort of doing and saying a lot that felt off. And in the public sphere, everyone was commenting on this, just kind of going, okay, I get that you offer a lot of commentary, but something feels in this environment emotionally off. And when I say emotionally off, I would think the fairest way to summarize it would be to say that he was being unnecessarily confrontational.
Oh, that's rich coming from Candace. Sorry. And I would say the same thing if I said that, unnecessarily confrontational.
With everyone. Like it just felt like, does everything need to be a confrontation? And Brett Cooper,
It's
obviously.
just like sad to me. I used to love Candace Owens. I used to love her stuff, but ever since the Crowder thing, I just cannot see her the same. I can't.
The backstory of that, she was without a question the breakout star of the Daily Wire. She is just tremendous talent, very young, Gen Z, did something different with the comment section. She kind of announced that she was leaving. It was considered unceremonious because the public wasn't expecting it. This was back in December of last year. And it was heavily rumored at that time amongst YouTubers and internet sleuths that Jeremy then handpicked her best friend and maid of honor. Brett Cooper got married last April. This girl was her maid of honor. Her name is Reagan Conrad. He had handpicked this young woman to
Yeah, okay. And this was why did this happen? Because Brett Cooper decided to unfollow her and do passive aggressive things on social media to let everyone speculate. Okay. And this is going back to my flow chart, which is again, the conservative women, what they do is they see the men, right? They enter the man's world. They all have the option to get married young and none of them are going to put their media career away for the kids. I'm not saying they should. I am not saying they should. I am not saying that that's what they should do. All I'm saying is it's not what they're selling, right? Now, so again, Brett goes into the man's world right there, and then she can't take the getting fired. And do you know what? I actually had a situation in England where something really similar happened, where I actually did let go of one employee and I hired his friend. And it was just because the friend really couldn't do the job. It wasn't really a personal thing, but they stayed friends. It was kind of awkward, but it just was what it was. And so men can actually put their differences aside and say, you know what, this is a man's world. Life is tough and work isn't personal. But, women, they go into a man's world and they bring in all the drama. And then Candace Owens tag teams on this poor cousin, this poor woman. I mean, I don't really feel bad for her either because, she's probably one and the same. But, it's part of the job, right? But, God, it's like sometimes I feel crazy because I'm like, how do you guys not see this? I guess I'm by myself just noticing these things.
Place Brett. And the rumors and innuendo online was because he just kind of wanted to get back at Brett. Now, I want to be very clear. That's rumor and innuendo. Neither Jeremy nor Brett confirmed that rumor at all. But what we do know is that Brett Cooper and Reagan did in fact stop being friends after this. And what we do know is that Reagan did then take over her position. And what we do know is that Reagan's cousin came out and did a video and at the very least confirmed the rumors that Reagan was supposed to have left the Daily Wire with Brett and then did a 180 and decided to stay because of the money that they offered her, which she said was like, a consistent.
Do you know how much of a brat you have to be? Frickin' A. Yeah, Brett Cooper is going to make millions of dollars on her YouTube channel. She was a nobody actress. Okay, nobody knew who she was. Now she is world famous and making millions of dollars. If I leave a company, now her friend goes and gets to start a small YouTube channel and take over. You know what this would be like? You know the Tonight Show, how they had rotating hosts? If Jimmy Fallon left the Tonight Show and they cast his brother or his friend or something, if they would just understand this is part of business, somebody's got to fill the job. But to think that you have control over what your friend does, I don't know. Nope.
Stream of income, and she felt that that was defensive territory. So that's what we know. We obviously, again, cannot confirm that Jeremy handpicked her to get back at Brett. Now,
but you can imply it on your show.
Reagan taking over the comment section from an objective numerical.
Pearl, you're on point. Conservative culture is simp. It's so simp. And it's worse. It's worse than liberal culture because they want men to accept bad deals. That's pretty much. And we're going to actually react to a Pierce Morgan clip at the end of this. That was hilarious showing this.
Whole standard clearly did not go over well with the public. For whatever reason you want to read into that, maybe because they felt that Brett was being backstabbed or that Jeremy did something wrong.
I could tell you why it didn't go over well. Because Brett Cooper played victim and let the public attack her ex-best friend. And then also simultaneously pretending that she did not. You guys think I was born yesterday.
The show itself is not doing what Brett's show was doing.
Had she not unfollowed her friend, unfollowed Jeremy, and done that You know what? It's like, just come out and say it. Make your statement. Talk the shit. Don't half talk shit and then pretend you didn't.
Show was averaging from 500,000 to 1 million views per a video. Here is Reagan's channel today. This is just a screenshot that we took 1 hour ago. Okay, so you can see that we are averaging about 20,000 views in 24-hour span, or actually less than that. It's just not the show, but it
Right. And let's be clear, they're conservative pundits and conservative people. I think you're missing nuance, Pearl. Okay. Do you want me to clarify? I'm talking about these conservatives, Bryden.
was. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Tons of people have YouTube channels, and to some people that, like, 20,000 in 24 hours actually is a lot. But what happened thereafter was atypical. Jeremy did something that I think any person in a boardroom would describe as ill-advisable, which is when you launch something and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, you just pivot. You pivot the product, or you say it's fine, I don't really care. Maybe you're making money, who knows? But you don't blame the consumer. You don't blame the audience of the Daily Wire for not consuming the content. And that's what he did. And here is a video of that. And this, again, was something that the public flagged as, this seems like caged emotion. Take a listen.
What Reagan hasn't done is taking acting classes to be more like Brett Cooper. That is just completely absurd. And it's hurt my feelings a little bit that Brett hasn't done more to defend her friend Reagan. Brett chose to leave the show. It was her idea, her stated desire to leave the show and to leave the company.
How can you play victim when you were making millions of dollars talking? I want her to go be a coal miner for a week and then come back. Please, God.
She had personally recommended Reagan to me before she told me she wanted to leave the show. She had personally recommended Reagan to me and told me that if she ever did leave the show, Reagan would be a great person to consider to host it, and that at any rate, I should give something to Reagan because she should be on screen talent. And I know that most of these attacks on Reagan are completely unfair.
They are unfair, Candace. I mean, can we just be honest here? Like, this is the problem when women have the ability to do so much reputational damage. And the thing is, women don't value our reputation like men do. Men spend years building their reputation. So what's the solution? I'll get to that. The solution is you got to start shaming these simps. That's one. And boring's kind of a simp too, but it's fine. But, and so, Brett, she feels no remorse for essentially ruining this woman's reputation. What did she do? She didn't kill anybody. She didn't steal. She didn't. And Brett is in the perfect position because all she has to do, and this, when there's drama going on, people are hyper watching your account. So all she has to do is do a couple unfollows. She has ruined that woman's reputation. She has. And all of the simp because conservative men have a tendency to be sexless. Sorry, guys. I'm not trying to be rude, but that's what they do, is they manipulate men that are not experienced with women and get them to, and women will get the men to attack who they want. So
Disingenuous. People aren't really raising these criticisms. They're either helping to craft or buying into a narrative which has been crafted by people who want the Daily Wire to fail and want Reagan to fail in the role. And both will be disappointed because Reagan will not fail in this role. And the Daily Wire will not fail.
They probably won't.
Continue to grow.
Candace is a drama gossip queen. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but it's a little hypocritical of me to say that. You know what I mean? It's a little bit,
We continue to succeed.
Reagan will not fail. The Daily Wire will not fail. It just seemed like he was saying too much. Nobody wanted the Daily Wire to fail. Nobody wanted Reagan to fail. It's okay sometimes when something goes out and it's just not the response that you expected or anticipated it was. And that kind of got the rumor mill going. And it was then rumored that the Daily Wire was looking to sell, or rather, I shouldn't say it was rumored, they were not closed off from a sale. That came from Jeremy.
I mean, nobody's closed off from a sale for the right amount of money. I mean, people sell their kidneys. People will literally sell their kidney for the right amount of money. You think, yeah, okay.
Directly. He gave that to Axios in a statement, and I can show you. Axios reported, quote, between the lines, asked about a deal with Fox. Boring said the company isn't actively looking for a buyer, but we're not closed off to an offer. It's easy, and then this is a quote from Jeremy, it's easy to imagine a strategic partnership with Fox or someone like Fox that could be mutually beneficial. I think that we complement Fox and don't compete with Fox, he added, noting Daily Wire's audience is primarily younger and more coastal urban. So it seemed like, I don't know, how would you read that statement? I read that as, hey, we're kind of looking for someone to maybe show some interest in a strategic partnership. That's exactly what he's explicitly stating, which it seemed to me to be unusual because they had been kind of, or at least while I was the Daily Wire, painting a vision into the future. We're going to take over Disney. And now it's kind of like, oh, maybe we will partner with Fox and, we're not closed off from a sale sort of a thing. And this was followed, and this was recently. And what I'm going to show you is literally just the last 2 weeks of Jeremy's tweets. It was just a lot of emotion coming from Jeremy Boring towards people that I would say, generally speaking, don't have a lot of issues with others. Like, these are not people that you expect are going to have.
Chris says, well, I'm here to simp for Pearl, so go ahead, open season, shame me, let's go. She basically dedicates this whole, here's the other part, okay. So again, Candace, what she does is she uses God to attack her enemies, which I think is especially evil. I really don't like it when Christian women use God to be passive aggressive. I think there's a special place in hell for women who do that.
Jeremy's tweets, he then wades into the Christ is King non-debacle, because no one was talking about Christ is King this year. And then people woke up one day and chose violence. I don't know. There's something about Lent. There is something, 'tis the season, something about Christ, and people just get going, and Jeremy just weighed in on this, pardon me, in a long tweet. He wrote this. I'm not going to read the whole thing, honestly, but you get the point. There's no effort on the American right to prevent Christians from declaring the truth that Christ is King. There's an important effort to encourage Christians to be discerning about the motives of some malefactors who would exploit the language of faith in order to foster evil. There is a reason Jesus Christ the King says that not everyone who calls him Lord will be saved. There is a reason an entire commandment warns against carrying his name in vain. Anyone who says Christ is King because they believe Jesus of now, it's just a lot. And again, I would maybe just stay out of it. I would just maybe stay out of it if it was.
Would you? Okay. What happened was Candace Owens last year, there was a clip of Ben Shapiro privately talking trash about her. Now, let's be honest. People talk trash about their colleague. Like, who doesn't? Can we just be honest? Except anyone that works for me, obviously. But anyway, so then this comes out and Candace Owens puts this tweet about how blessed are those who are persecuted. Christ is King. So let me get this straight. You tweet that within 24 hours of this clip of them talking shit about you is going viral. And you're going to compare your struggle to Jesus and then now pretend that that is not what you were doing. I can't stand it. I can't stand it at all. It drives me nuts. So I wanted to contrast. So then Brett Cooper, when, Jeremy stepped down, does the passive aggressive thing. So here you go. She puts in this, Jimmy Fallon. So, saying nothing while saying everything. And also sending your followers towards him, knowing she knows what she's doing. Okay. Now, which is fine, but I just say it with your chest. Look I'm not above a tweet. You guys have seen my Twitter. But what I'm not going to do is when I do something, I got to stand on it. Okay. Now wait, let's go back. Okay. So, Brett did what she always does. She doesn't say anything directly, but did enough for people to start wondering what happened. Comparing Candace and Brett, you can see the difference between younger women and older women in these circumstances. These older fake tradcon modern women get louder and more insufferable the older they get. Candace and Brett, at least partially, owe their careers to Jeremy Boring. Candace wouldn't be as famous as she was without PragerU, Turning Point, and the Daily Wire. And just in case Candace forgot, 2 of these organizations are run by people that are part of a group that she seems to have a lot of hatred for the last couple of years. Brett Cooper was a starving actress before she was hired by the Daily Wire. And without Jeremy's vision, none of them would be where they are. It's unfortunate that they take this opportunity to attack the man on social media when he's going through this. No concern, no empathy, no nothing. Just two spiteful, fake tradcon women making a situation worse for their own selfish desire and egos. I don't always agree with Jeremy, the Daily Wire, and what they're doing over there, but I have to respect what Jeremy created. He built a $1 billion media empire from nothing. Unlike Candace and Brett, I can recognize that. I even heard that he spent $50 million on a movie for Brett Cooper. Imagine. And let's say it was 10 or 5 or even 1. Imagine spending $1 million investing into a movie for someone, only to have them spit in your face. So we're going to take a look at we're going to take a look at an example of a person that got fired but kept it classy and respectful. In 2023, Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News without any real warning. He could have taken the chance to say bad things about Fox and aired out all of their business, but he didn't do it. He didn't do any 2-hour streams on them. He didn't go crazy. He didn't do passive aggressive. Romans 5:3-5 is what Candace was trying to say, but didn't.